Hey guys, so the focus of my strategic plan is an optimization of the graduate assistant position for international service learning in the Agape Center. So Messiah College is situated perfectly for a service learning department. With Grantham being so close to the city and capital of Harrisburg, there are ample opportunities for service to take place in the surrounding community. In fact, there are around 500 nonprofits in the area surrounding Messiah College. Further, the service is a foundational aspect of the Messiah College mission statement, which reads to educate men and women towards maturity of intellect, character, and Christian faith in preparation for lives of service, leadership, and reconciliation in church and society. Agape Center's role in accomplishing this mission is to develop and administer resources related to service and to coordinate service learning programs locally, domestically, and internationally. This involves 3 international trips, which is the sole responsibility of the graduate assistant, 15 domestic trips, 15 local service teams, 2 campus-wide plunge days, and the Human Rights Awareness student team that educates and does programming around social issues. So this is all completed with 4 professional staff, 1 of them being a graduate assistantship and 2 of them being part-time, and around 20 work-study students that are office staff, local student leader teams, domestic service trip teams, and the Human Rights Awareness team. So the purpose of the strategic plan is to restructure the graduate assistant position. Through a SWOT analysis, the need for this restructuring became even more evident. While there are a myriad of reasons why it would be helpful to change this position, there were 4 that really stood out to me. The first one being professional development. Right now, the graduate assistant position is on one focus area, international service learning trips. This position is incredibly administrative. The graduate assistant is charged with fundraising around $90,000, managing the budget, coordinating the fundraisers, and the stewardship efforts. So this takes up majority of the 800 allotted hours for graduate assistantships. Graduate assistant positions are designed for professional development and applying course material. So finding a balance between administrative work and opportunities that stretch a higher education graduate student is crucial for optimum growth and success. As someone who currently holds this position, I've had to seek out other opportunities outside of my allotted hours to grow professionally. However, ideally this position will be optimized to give the graduate assistant multifaceted experience without feeling overworked. The third and fourth one is limited resources and the external review. It is not an option to get more resources, so finding strategic balance, you have to learn how to reallocate the resources that you are given. When interviewed about the Agape Center resources, Chris Hansen-Kiefer acknowledged that resources are a real challenge at Messiah and indicated that increases in personnel and funding will be incremental at best. The Agape Center just had an external review completed in the fall of 2018, and it is evident that there is a heightened expectation to play a larger role on Messiah's campus, but lowering resources in both personnel and finances. So to get a better understanding of service learning graduate assistantships, I did a benchmarking study on 8 institutions that have some sort of service learning related graduate assistantship. Looking at the benchmarking study, the primary thing I learned had to do with the responsibilities of the graduate assistant. Just to give you a few to compare it to, I put my position up as well as 2 other positions that I evaluated. So obviously the first one listed up there is Messiah College, and the International Service Learning Programs is the sole responsibility of the graduate assistantship. The second one is Alfred University. So this graduate assistant is in charge of local service, service days, social media coordination, research, and they are also a teaching assistant. And then lastly, Loyola University. This graduate assistantship is in charge of research and assessment, website design and maintenance. They are on the Committee on Engaged Scholarship, and faculty development related to service learning. So overall, I learned that all but 1 institution of the 8, aside from Messiah, use their service learning graduate assistants in a broader sense, providing a well-rounded professional experience for their graduate assistant. Furthermore, what is not noted on this study, because it was difficult to find this information for all institutions, was that each graduate assistant typically oversaw work studies that completed the administrative tasks for them. So taking all of that prior information into consideration, I have 2 broad recommendations and some concrete action steps. The first recommendation is to transition the graduate assistant from solely international service learning to a broader service learning position. Budget-wise, this would remain the same. The $11,900 is what the graduate assistant stipend is, which is about $8,000 of the Agape operational budget and about $3,000 of the higher education master's budget. Doing this would optimize professional growth for the graduate assistantship, as well as free up time for other professional staff at the Agape Center. This would be done by updating the graduate assistantship job description to include 3 overarching responsibilities. They would continue to oversee the International Service Learning Program. They would attend international service learning experiences. Occasionally, the graduate assistants within the Agape Center have had the opportunity to advise an international service learning trip. However, I believe there should be a more formal process to equip the graduate assistant to gain this international advisory experience. I propose that graduate assistants advise 1 domestic trip their first year, followed by an international trip the summer in between, as well as an optional May international service trip upon graduation. Attending and advising service trips would put well-rounded experience on a graduate assistant's resume, as well as provide professional development opportunities leading students and working alongside faculty. The last one is coordinating the campus-wide plunge days. So professional staff members currently, aside from the graduate assistants, spend a significant period of time coordinating these service days. They work with the community partners, the Special Olympics Area M Committee, and do all the other local MLK Day of Service projects. If the graduate assistant is able to expand from solely international trips to local service days as well, this will provide concrete and varied experience to help them develop as a professional, as well as releasing time from other professionals in the Agape Center. In order to make Recommendation 1 a success, Recommendation 2 is just as important, which is to hire 2 undergraduate work studies to assist each function of the Service Learning Coordinator. So the budget for this is about $3,000 a year for 2 work studies. That's $1,500 per person at $8 an hour. And this job operates out of the already established Agape budgets. Since the Agape Center is short on operational funds, but has a significant portion of federal work-study money, this is reallocating resources to get the same job done in a broader sense. This would give supervisor experience to the graduate assistant, as well as use resources that are already available. These 2 positions would include, first, a plunge day assistant. So this person would do the marketing for Special Olympics and MLK Day of Service, manage volunteers and registration, be on the Special Olympics Committee as a student liaison, administer assessment materials for the plunge days, and all other administrative tasks for plunge days as assigned. The second one is International Service Learning Assistant. So this person would work with the travel agents to secure flights, they'd manage all the reservations, do marketing for the trips, as well as the fundraising efforts, including the fall and spring events, letter stuffing fundraiser, and stewardship and Cognos reporting. So the last thing that is important to note is the timeline to accomplish these 2 broader recommendations. This timeline also includes smaller action steps. So in March 2019, you would create the job descriptions for work study positions, which would be done by the director of the Agape Center, Ashley Schaefer, as she is in charge of all of the work study positions. You would also change the graduate assistant job title from International Service Learning Coordinator to Service Learning Coordinator for the 2019 to 2021 position. In March and April 2019, this 2-month period, you would start focusing on hiring and updating the graduate assistant job description to encompass the recommendations from Recommendation 1, then hiring the new graduate assistant for the following term. Continuing into May, once the job description is completed, it is important to be sure that you send it over to the newly hired graduate assistant. Then in fall 2019, you would train the new graduate assistant to reflect the new job description, and then in December and April, you would complete your mid-year and end-of-year evaluations. Both the work study positions and the graduate assistant will be evaluated at this time. And then following in May 2020, the Agape Center staff always has a staff retreat. And so one of the topics of discussion at this retreat would be reflection on the success of the strategic plan year 1. So overall, restructuring the graduate assistantship in the Agape Center for Service and Learning will not only improve the success of the graduate assistant professionally and personally, but further increase the mission of the organization and college. With proper reallocation of the limited resources, it is still possible to achieve a great strategic balance. As someone who has held and currently holds this position, it is important to note that I am not criticizing my own professional development in this role, because it has truly shaped me into a professional and equipped me for graduation. Rather, my primary goal is to have the following graduate assistants after me be able to grow as a well-rounded professional while working a healthy balance of hours and schoolwork. I believe that with my proposed strategic plan that this is possible.